Okay, the reason why I started Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and MMA was when I was in Hawaii, there's a lot of street fights. So it was just to defend myself on the streets. I looked around. I tried all the different arts. I tried Taekwondo. I tried Aikido, Karate. I was doing Muay Thai and Wing Chun. And I just found that Jiu-Jitsu, you know, I had good training there, especially Muay Thai and Wing Chun. It was very productive for the streets. But there was something missing. And when I ran into Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, I knew that this was like the most important thing that I needed to learn for the streets. And that's when I started getting into Jiu-Jitsu and got obsessed. And it's actually helped me win a couple of street fights right after I started. So that's when I really got obsessive with it. The reason why I started MMA was when I was in Japan. There was a lot of fights, and the only reason why I went into the ring wasn't because I thought I was going to be good or I wanted to be a champion or I wanted to make money, because back in that day there was no money. There was absolutely no money involved. So the reason why I got into the ring was because I wanted to learn how to control my emotions. I always thought in a life and death situation, if you had to save someone's life and it was a situation that would get you emotionally freaked out or panicked and you couldn't think straight. For example, when I was small, I saw a movie that a guy was driving his family in a car, and the car got into an accident, turned upside down. And because he was panicking, just because the car was upside down, he couldn't figure out how to open the door for the car. And his family ended up burning and dying in the car because he in the panic state, he couldn't open the door. And I always thought that I always want to be able to think in a level head, no matter what how much blood there is, how crucial the situation is, in case I'm in that situation where I need to save someone that I love. So I always thought that I wanted to always be able to think straight no matter what happens. And the reason why I thought getting in the ring was good is because when I was training Jiu-Jitsu, I got really close with the Gracies. And Rickson Gracie in 1994 came to fight in the Valley-to Japan. And when he fought, I went to watch, not thinking I'm going to ever get in the ring or anything, but I went to watch, and the excitement and the emotion that I had, I couldn't control watching Rickson fight, made me wonder that if I was in the ring, it would be a good test and a good practice to control my emotions. So I looked around to book a fight just to get in the ring once, and I won. The guy who trained me for the fight begged me to fight another, until the fourth fight, and I beat a K1 fighter. That's when I started thinking, okay, wait a minute, I might be good at this, and got really full on into MMA. So that's the answer to the first question, why I started BJJ and MMA. Or earned that nickname because of my fight style. I was that killer be killed, never tapped, and just they told me it's a thing that I used to say after the fight or during the fight. And one of the reporters came and told me that when he sees me fight and when they hear the things I say about the fight and after the fight or before the fight, remind them of the samurai spirit, which is called Yamatodamashii. So I really didn't know what the name was. I didn't understand what the word meant at first. And it was something that I got they gave me. And then when I looked up the word and realized how wonderful the word was, I embraced it. And now, they said I was Yamatodamashii, but when I figured out how deep the word was, I realized that I was not Yamatodamashii yet. And what it's become right now in my life is I live every day to strive to be closer to a person that has true Yamatodamashii in his heart. I believe I'm not there yet, but I'm working, and until the day I die, I'll be trying to step closer and closer to being a person with Yamatodamashii. Yes, it is true. When I first got there, I saw him do that. And when we started training, he used to make us do some crazy shit for like a whole hour, like meaningless stuff just to test us. But what I realized is the reason why he does it is he likes to weed out the guys who really don't want to do it. So he does beat those guys with the sticks, and you know he's done that to Rumi Sato, Asahi Noboru. A lot of the top fighters in Shuto actually went through all of that. But I think it is true. But he does do it only for a brief period of time to find out if you got it or not. He did it. He never hit me with sticks, but he made me do like stand in the same motion in a fighting pose for a whole hour, just jumping back and forth for a whole hour, just standing there and just jumping back and forth like this. And it was ridiculous. But he's testing. He likes to test people to see if they really have the heart. And I think he's the type of guy that doesn't want to waste his time if someone is half-assed about it. So, yeah, it is true, but it's not something that, you see at the YouTube videos, and it's not something he does every single day. That video the real famous video that he's hitting the guys with the kendo stick, the kendo practice stick, is actually, they call it a gashku. It's a group training where all the people who want to become shoot fighters go into the room and start and get into a training together. And what he does is he weeds out the guys who's not serious. He weeds out the guys that doesn't have the heart. And you look at the training, if you're not made for it, you probably will never come back. So that's what he does. And yeah, it is true. But it's not something that's ongoing, because after that time he tested me a couple times, never again. Super nice guy, real productive in training, and like a regular coach after that. Okay, the reason why I started fighting in Japan was because I was in Japan at the time, and when I saw the Hickson fight, and got me kind of pumped up to try and get in the ring once to see if I can control my emotions. Japan was very accessible, and there was a lot of fights every weekend. Like in Hawaii, there was hardly any fights. Super Brawl started later. There was really no fighting in Hawaii at the time, and my opportunity was in Japan. So my career started in Japan, and my fan base was in Japan. And that's why I just continued in Japan and not in Hawaii. And also, I also lived in Japan. Been here for 28 years now. The difference between the American fans are cool because they're not as educated, but they create this barbaric feeling of you're actually fighting, and you're like, kill or be killed. The way they scream and they get nuts. Some of them are half drunk and going crazy, but. That's what I like about the American crowds. They're real enthusiastic. They make a lot of noise. They get you amped up and pumped up, and it creates like a real crazy fight atmosphere. But they're very they're not as educated as Japanese fans. They'll start screaming and booing if there's no punching. You're not beating on the guy, but although there's a transition on the ground, position transition that's really doing good. They won't acknowledge that. They'll acknowledge the fact that you're not hitting them, and they start booing. That's the downfall of the American fans, and it's the vice versa. Yeah, Japan fans, they're real silent, they're real respectful, and it doesn't create that real exciting atmosphere. But what you appreciate about the Japan fans is they're very intelligent about positioning. They cheer when you pass the guard. They're real silent, and you can hear oohs and ahs. Although there's absolutely not a punch thrown passing the guard. So the difference of that in fighting in Japan is it's very respectful, and they appreciate every little advancement in positioning, although you're not striking. In Japan, yeah, and in America they don't really appreciate that, but they like that blood, spill blood, punch them in the face, knock them out, and it's a little different. Both good things and bad things about it, but yes, that's the difference. And I prefer fighting in Japan. I like the respect, and I like the way the fans will love you even if you're not winning. Even if you fight hard, the fans love you. Like in America, a lot of times it's more you got to win to really get the fans on you. So that's the thing I like about Japan, and the difference between Japan and America. After the first match, and I beat Royce Alger, I didn't think I really took any strikes, but I felt something on my right eye that felt kind of weird. So when I got to the back of the locker room, I wanted to check if I had blood in my nose. So I blew my nose. And it was such a weird feeling because I felt like almost like air was coming behind my eye and filled up my eye, and to a point where I couldn't see. Because my eyes were so swollen I couldn't see because I blew all the air into my eye. So I didn't know what was wrong. So my brother went and called the doctor. He came and checked, and he said that in the face there's a small thin plate bone that holds in the air in your face. And apparently because when I blew my nose, there was a crack somewhere in my faceplate, my orbital bone. And when that happens, the air won't be held in, and it will come out when I blow it. So I blew my nose, and I guess I had a crack somewhere, and it filled up my eye. The reason why I couldn't fight was the doctor told me that if there's a little crack, if I get hit again and with a solid punch in the wrong area, my whole cheekbone could cave in or something. I would have to have reconstructive surgery. I told him I'm okay. I said I can't see out of this eye. I told him I can see out of this eye. It's fine. And then I was pushing on my bone to let him know that, it's okay, it's strong. If there's a crack, it's really nothing. It doesn't hurt at all. But apparently, because it was so swollen, I wasn't even touching my bone. So he said it's so swollen you wouldn't even know. I tried to decline. I got that far in the fight. I went through so much pain in training that a little crack in my faceplate wasn't something that would have allowed me to stop fighting. But the doctor has the last word, and he decided to stop my fight and pulled me out of the tournament. So in my place, Tito Ortiz was an alternate at that time, and he came in and fought my guy Mensur instead of me. There's two very big achievements in my career. One is my victory over Randy. He was a current UFC champion, and he was undefeated, and he was considered one of the best in the world. So to armbar him and take control of the fight like I did was a very good achievement for me as far as career-wise. Personally, that wasn't my best achievement for not career, but for myself as a person, as a man. The two fights that I felt was the biggest achievement was Frank Shamrock and Igor Genoviev. In those two fights, I've learned about who I was. I learned about my heart. I learned about who I was as a man. And as far as personal achievements, over Frank Shamrock's fight, I think Igor Vovchanchin was my biggest achievement. Career-wise, Randy Couture. Personally, Igor. In the Igor fight, I didn't have a single feeling of ever giving up or feel like I'm losing. Although after the first round, which was actually stopped by the doctor, I had a perforated eardrum, a swollen brain, broken jaw, broken finger, liver count 2,000 times the normal person. So I was almost at the verge of dying. I went into intensive care for a day and a half before being moved into my own hospital room, and took about 3 months to recover. So the fact that I didn't have any fear or overcame the fear, and the fact that I didn't once think of quitting or giving up was an achievement for me, and I learned a lot about myself in that fight. So that would be my biggest personal achievement in my career, or Igor. Well, if you look at all my fights, I never took a fight that I thought I could win. I always took fights that I thought would test me and that could bring me into the fear zone that I would have to grow as a man. So Randy Couture was a fight that I took, not thinking that I was going to win, but that I wanted to challenge myself and see how I could work through the adversities of fighting someone that good. My chance of beating him, I thought, of course, I was being real and honest, and I thought that to beat Randy, I probably have like a 1% chance. The media felt that way. My training partners, everyone was telling me, okay, what are you going to do with Randy? It was the whole atmosphere. I was kind of sick and tired of hearing like, oh, you're fighting Randy Couture. But I always believe that if he has a 99% chance and I have a 1, as long as there's that 1%, there's a chance. So, like, if you think of a chances of winning, every percent is a different road. So 99%, he has 99 different roads to victory, and I have only 1. But when you walk a road, there's only one road that you can walk. So if we so happen to walk that one road that is my road to victory, his 99 roads won't mean anything. So that's what I believed. I believed that my chances were very slim, but I also believed that if I did have a chance and if we could walk that road, then the victory would be mine. As far as managed to defeat him, I prepared as best as I could mentally. I saw Randy as just another opponent. And the thing with me is I never put pressure on myself for winning and losing. My whole deal going into the ring, and even with my students, what I emphasize to my students about going into the ring is just giving everything you got. Winning and losing is like the tail of a dog. You're not going to know if it's going to wag left or right. Winning and losing is something you cannot control. So winning and losing, I always tell my students, and all I told myself was never something that I ever worried about. So my whole pressure on myself was to never give up and give everything I got and leave it all in the ring. And that's how helped me manage. That's how I managed to beat him. Maybe that's what helped me beat him, is the fact that I never had pressure on winning and losing. And I just thought, I'm going to give 100%. If my 100% isn't enough to beat Randy, then so be it. I think it was instilled for me from the Gracies, how they were willing to die than to lose because they were fighting for the family honor. And I had that instillment. I always had that type of attitude whenever I played any sports. I would give my body for my sport. Like when racquetball, we dive all over the court without any worry about your body. Baseball would head first dive into home plate or second base when I'm stealing. So I always had that little bit of that kamikaze, attitude. But I think what really helped me fight into what the real big turning point was, the fight game I didn't take as a sport. I took it as a life and death situation. I took it as a street fight. So it was more really, to me, literally kill or be killed. And the reason why I think I could fight and never give up, like you said, I got triangle choked by Nogueira and to sleep, which I didn't have even an inkling of tapping. When Keith Hearing was popping my arm in Pride 12, I heard my elbow cracking, but not even a doubt of a moment went by that I thought of tapping. It was because when the 3 months that I'm training for the fight, because I'm training, for me it's not a sport, it was about life and death. And when I trained for any fight, I was training with the mindset that I was literally willing to die in the ring. And if you think about it, I'm not one of those fighters. You hear that from a lot of fighters. I will die in the ring, I'll die in the ring. But as soon as they get into a hard situation or they start losing stamina, they tap or give up or cop out in the way they fight. The reason why I never did was because I truly in my heart believed that, I truly in my heart was ready to die in the fight. These fighters that say it, you can tell the fighters who really mean it and the fighters that don't, because when the adversity hits in the ring, they start reacting a different way. The ones who actually mean it, like I did, you got to figure, okay, if you're accepting in your heart that you're going to die in the ring, you hear your arm popping, it's not even anything near. You're not going to, even if my arm severely hyperextends and it breaks, it's not a death-threatening injury. Even when you get choked, unless the guy holds the choke for another minute after you pass out, it's not anything that's going to threaten your life. So to get choked out or to get your heel hold and your knee ripped, of course it might be career-ending, but I'm not fighting as hard as I can until I hit a point where I might end my career or hurt me detrimentally. I'm fighting in the willingness and acceptance that I might die in the ring. So getting my arm popped, getting choked out, unconscious isn't something that fear makes me, it isn't even near dying. So for me, the reason why I probably never gave up was because in my heart, when I trained and when I prepared for the fights, I did prepare to die. I literally, honestly, in my heart, did prepare to die. So, arm popping or getting rendered unconscious by triangle choke is not something that would trigger your mind to freak out and say, tap out, get out of the situation. That's what I believe, and the reason why I never tap. Yes, Igor was one of the toughest opponents. It'd be kind of dumb for me not to say that because he would put me in the hospital. All the injuries that I got from him, closest to death that I've ever been after a fight. So yeah, he would be my toughest. If anybody's near second, would be Frank Shamrock's fight. It was a war. We fought to the end. They gave everything we got. It was an awesome war. And the other opponent that was tough, was physically tough, was Mark Kerr. So overall, yes, Igor was my toughest opponent. It was a war. And second, Frank Shamrock. And third, Mark Kerr. Yep, that's the question, yeah. Toughest opponent, Igor Vovchanchi, for sure. You never finished on points. Oh, I never realized that. 3 times KO, 9 in submission. No, I never realized that. How do you describe your fighting style and what are your strengths? Well, my fighting style is definitely kill or be killed. Hit fire with fire. Don't wait for him to take it to him and try to kill him before he kills me. As far as what is it next? How do you describe your fight style and your strength? Yeah, my strengths would be the ground, which is hard to believe because towards the end of my career was always standing wars because I loved that toe-to-toe exchange. You know, kill or be killed. Knock. I mean, you got to admit, choking someone out or armbarring or having them tap is not as exciting as punching him in the face and knocking him out cold. So that's like the best way to win. So I guess I was intrigued with that. And I think when I fought, I never was about winning the victories. I was hitting my fear zone head on head. So, you know, when I fought Igor, strategically, the best way to beat Igor was to take him to the ground and get on top and play my submission game. But I was more intrigued with not winning, but to step into the fire, into the fear zone that these fighters could create for me. So in Igor, I was intrigued to stand toe-to-toe with him. So yeah, my fight style is very aggressive and kill or be killed. Render your opponent helpless before he renders you helpless. And my strengths are probably the ground. I guess overall my strengths would not just be the ground. My strength is my desire to be not desire. My strengths would be the willingness to die in the ring. The heart of the unbreakable heart, the Yamatodamashii spirit would be my strength, if anything, other than the ground. Well, actually, after my fight with Igor Vovchanchi in 2000, the year 2000, I felt there was nothing more that I could learn as a man in the ring. I just felt that in the ring there was nothing more that I could learn, so it was time to move on to something else. So actually, in my heart, my Igor Vovchanchi fight is where I retired. And the reason why I fought another fight against Keith Haring was I just felt that my popularity and everything that I had was due to the fans. So to give back to the fans, I wanted to just give the fans one last fight, and that's why I came back and fought Keith Haring. Announced my retirement then, and the only reason why I fought in Guam and Hawaii was because I felt those places I considered my home. So I got one fight in Guam and in Hawaii. Win or lose, Hawaii was the place where I wanted to always fight, so just wanted to put a fight up there. Unfortunately, it wasn't the best showing, but still I got my to fight in front of my family and my friends in Hawaii. Wasn't a good showing, but it's okay. Officially did a 10 count in the ring, so officially done, never fight again. I got an offer to fight in some associations, but because I had the 10 count in the ring, I declined. because the year before that I got arrested for marijuana. And the last time I was on the news was because being handcuffed by the police. And I didn't want everybody to have the last image of me of being handcuffed in the ring. So I decided I wanted to get in the ring one more time to show people that I'm back, I'm fine, and back on track. Yes, all the time, every single fight. Have I ever been afraid to fight? No. But have I ever felt fear before a fight? Yes. Thinking of the fight, when the fight was set up, as the fight's going to happen, of course there's a lot of fear. Not fear of getting hurt, but more fear of what is going to happen. Because, fighting is such an unexpected sport. You never know what's going to happen. And, of course, I was willing to fight to the death. So a little bit of a fear that today might be my last day on earth. So I felt fear in every single one of my fights. I believe that a true warrior is not someone that doesn't feel fear, but I believe it's someone who feels fear and fights through it. Fear is something that if it can overtake your body, it'll become your enemy. But if you can understand it and understand it, and if you can have it work for you, don't let it control you, control it, and it can turn into aggression, it can turn into unbelievable persistence and training. So yeah, everyone feels fear. I felt fear before every one of my fights, and I let it work for me. Yes, there is. It was a dream of mine to fight Wanderlei Silva. Figure me and him in my prime, fire with fire, fighting standing toe to toe and throwing blow to blow would have been crazy fireworks. Actually, my Pride 19 opponent was started off with Wanderlei Silva, and as the negotiations went on, something happened with I think Nogueira's opponent, where they wanted to all of a sudden match me with Nogueira instead, and I think Tomura came up, and Tomura was too small to fight Nogueira, so he wanted to fight Silva. So the Silva fight was actually taken away from me. But yes, it never happened. Of course, I fought Nogueira, but there was a fighter I wanted to fight. It was Wanderlei Silva. I never got a chance, and I guess we'll never know. Well, Moro was the Pride announcer, and they told him and Boss Luton told a story on Joe Rogan podcast, but it's not very accurate. I'll give you the accurate version. Something in my teeth. Anyway, there was a night when everyone got together. I think it was after the Pride was done, and we went. We were called over to Boss Luton's room to hang out. So we went to the room. Had Boss Luton, had Kevin Randleman, Mark Coleman, and Moro were all there. So I went there with my friends. We went to hang out, and apparently they did some Percocet, and Moro was on some Percocet. So we went in and said hi. I knew he knew who I was. We weren't great friends or anything, but we weren't enemies. So said hi, everything, hung out, and just as the night went on, he came up and started jabbing in front of me, like jabbing at me, So I kind of was like laughing at him, laughing it off, kind of blowing it off. And then he started getting closer and closer to a point where I kind of looked at him like, are you for real? Then he accidentally, I was holding a drink, and he jabbed my drink. My drink spilled on me and spilled on the floor. So I was kind of a little bit pissed. And I told him, no, lick it up. Because there was like the drink spilled and was on the carpet. And I said, lick it up. Just, give him a little threat. Let him know I'm not fucking around to stop. But then all of a sudden, he plays it off, and he goes down on his hands and knees and starts barking like a dog, acting like he's a dog. Or I think I said, lick it up like a dog. Gets down on his hands and knees and starts barking like a dog, almost like ridiculing what I told him to do. And he started, I'm not sure if he was actually licking the carpet, but he going through the motion, and I could see his head kind of going up and down like he was licking something. So I took the I don't know, it just kind of irritated me, so I just gave him a little stomp on the head with my foot. And hard to judge how much power you use, so I didn't mean to do it so hard, but apparently I did it a little hard. And he came up, broke his nose, came up, and his nose was all bleeding. Boss Luton. I know Kevin Randleman, remember, was kind of like, oh shit, and kind of worried about what was going to happen. And Boss Luton was just rolling, laughing. I'm not sure what Mark Coleman was doing, but it was like a little funny thing. He got up and I guess the Percocet helped. He didn't feel much pain, just kind of laughed it off. And I kind of straight up was like, don't fuck around next time. And that was it. That was the story. Well, in Pride, they did not test for steroids. In fact, they had a clause in the contract that said we do not test for steroid substances. So, in other words, they encouraged it. As far as if I knew any fighters that did any, no, I didn't. If I had to guess, I'd say a lot were on it, but I've never personally seen anyone do it or heard of anyone taking certain steroid substances, but I'm pretty sure a lot of them did, and that was kind of accepted in our day. The rules where you could do almost anything goes besides biting and eye gouging and growing straws. Everything else was legal, and the fact that steroids wasn't something against the rules. So for us, it was understood that a lot of them were taking it. We didn't really care. I heard that it was related, but I don't have any proof, and so I guess I just have to say it's just rumors now. But they try to consider suicide, but the rumor around is that it was kind of like a hit. Have you ever had any problems with Yakuza during your career? No, I've never had problems with Yakuza during career. Connected to Pride. There was actually I had no problems. If anything, I did have some problems with Yakuza, but it was aside from Pride. Pride had a deep Yakuza connection, but I had a good relationship with all of them, and I never was bothered by them. The Yakuza incident I had was a separate incident that I felt that I was disrespected, and they weren't doing the proper things to keep a solid relationship, and there was punishment that I put out on them, and everything worked out. But yeah, as far as answering the question, any problems with Pride and Yakuza associated with Pride? No, not at all. But yes, they were heavily involved. Okay, the video about the Yakuza was there was a Yakuza that backstabbed me. He was running from me for about 3 months. When I found out where he was, I went there to meet him. Sent my students there to pull him out of the party. I was going to do it myself, but my students told me not to, and that they would get him out for me. So I waited in a park. They got him out, brought him to a park, and this fucker knew that he was running from me. Although he did know that, he came and when he saw me in the park, he came and greeted me. Hey, Enson, what's up? And I straight up went and slapped him right across the head. Told him, what's up? Don't fucking tell me what's up. You've been running from me. He said, no, I wasn't. I said, yes, you were. So I low kicked him. And I told him, no, I'm going to break your leg so you can't run from me. Kicked him about 3 or 4 times, and he started limping. Then gave him a slap in the face with an open palm, and I guess it was enough to kind of drop him. So he it was like a knockdown. He fell. I grabbed him, picked him back up. And as I was talking to him, I was like backhanding him in the face that, how dare you think you can run from me? Boom. So it wasn't like I was like punching him and hurting him. It was more like little backhands and, just more like a flick in the face with my knuckles and just making him bleed, yeah. So that went on for 30 minutes. And I guess when that happened, some of the people that
in the party that saw that he got put out by my guys called the higher ups. As the beating ensued, all of a sudden the higher ups came out through the back of the park. They came up, they were pissed off, they were kind of attacking and screaming in Japanese, "You motherfucker, what are you doing to our brother?" And my guys went and met him, and they all know each other, so they held him back. And then I felt like it wasn't necessary for them to be held back. So I told my guys to let him go. I told my guys to let him through. I just want to have one word with them. And if you guys, and I told them I want to have one word with you guys. If you guys still feel that you guys want to go to war or you want to try and kill me, let's do it, man. So they came through and they were all like pissed off, saying, "Okay, what the fuck you got to say?" And I said, if you had someone fuck you over and you did only 30% of what you wanted to do, don't you think that's kind? They said, "No, what do you mean 30%? Look at him." And this guy was standing there all bleedy and kind of wobbly, but still standing, still alive. And I told them that if I seriously wanted to hurt him in 30 minutes, don't you think I could have killed him? They said, "Yes." I said, "Well, I did 30%. And they looked at me and they looked at each other. It's like, "Oh, fuck, that's true." So the big boss guy came, and his name is Hasegawa. He came and pulled me on the side and said, "Hey, okay," and said, "Let's talk." Put me on the side, just me and him. And he said, "Can you just not do anymore?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm done. I'm done." I beat his ass, let him know what I felt, and I'm done. He goes, "Okay, I'll make sure he makes it up to you, and if he doesn't, I'll kill him myself." So right there, when he decided to take the responsibility for him, so I didn't need to go through the hassle, I said, "Cool." And that's how it kind of ended. I think another part of your question was, did you not think it was dangerous to beat up someone who's Yakuza? Yes, I did, but it wasn't like I was disrespecting Yakuza. It was a problem between me and the other guy. So it was I always made sure that it wasn't like I was picking on someone or causing trouble. It was something that I was standing up for my honor. And so far, so good. I got lucky. There's 3 guys that I beat up, 3 Yakuzas that I beat up, and 3 times the higher-ups understood. And actually, we got good relationships with the higher-ups from then. So that's the story.
I had an incident with a Yakuza. What exactly happened? Well, when he was in college, he was playing around in the town, shooting a BB gun. It's like an air pistol. It's not as dangerous as American ones, but it's like, it hurts. It's an air pistol. It's just like plastic beads out. Well, he was in the town playing around with his friends, shooting his friends and shooting each other, and it accidentally ricocheted and hit a Yakuza in the face. So this guy got real mad, followed them back to their dorms. Actually started trying to attack him in his dorms. And he had to jump out of his second story apartment, I think, dorm, to get out, and ran to a restaurant, called me. I had to make some calls to some people that I knew, and they actually was able to call it off and drop the whole situation. But because of that situation, the college that Nori went and actually kicked him out of the school. Because of the incident, the wrestling association put him on probation, so he couldn't wrestle for, I think it was a whole year. Yeah. So within that year is the time when I was dating his older sister, and I mentioned to him that why don't you come and continue your active movement, because MMA is kind of like, the groundwork is kind of like a wrestling movement. Keep on training with us here, learn some MMA, and you can keep your movement and maybe, hopefully, one day enter MMA. And that's how it happened. Okay, the reason why I decided to devote myself to purple belt a few years ago is because I was actually very inactive for 10 years out of jiu-jitsu. Did more MMA and didn't put in a gi for 10 years. And when a few years ago, the reason why I decided to get back on the mat was because my girlfriend Sarah McCann was training, and I started getting into the mat, trying to work with her and teach her, and I realized how bad my movement has got and how stiff my body has got. So I just decided to put on the gi, just go casually to roll with my students. And when first time I went, being a black belt, I had, because of the evolvement of the game, I had a hard time. I didn't know what they were doing, what kind of attacks they were doing. So I had a hard time keeping up with the purple belts. And when I sat back and really assessed my level, I thought, wow, I don't think my level is the caliber of a black belt. And I felt the caliber was of a purple belt instead. So I decided to, I didn't think I was making anything big about it. I was just being honest with myself, being honest with the art, and thinking that I'm only a purple belt level at the new jiu-jitsu style. So I was going to demote myself, just put on a purple, and slowly regress to, if I picked up and got better and got used to the new game, then maybe if I felt I was, if my students my black belt students felt I was, you're catching on better, you're moving better, okay, let's put on a brown, okay, let's put on a black. So that's what I thought. Never thought of ever entering anything. Entering a tournament wasn't in the plans, or isn't in the plans at all. And that's the reason why I demoted myself. So when I did decide to demote myself, I put it on my social media. Couldn't believe that when it got up, it went nuts. I had like about 5 different places throughout the world wanting a podcast interview to ask me what's going on. I got a little bit of criticism from some of the old-time black belt guys. I got a lot of props from a lot of people, and people were saying I was humble as humility, but I didn't think it was. It was just something, just being honest with the situation on my level. And I always thought that, if I'm a cell phone expert, go to prison for 10 years, come out, I can't call myself a cell phone expert anymore because the phones have changed, the technology has changed. I wouldn't even be able to, if I had, back in the days when we had the flip phones. And then I went to jail for 10 years, came out of jail, looked at these smartphones, and I wouldn't have a clue on how to work it. So I felt that I couldn't call myself an expert anymore, get demoted, learn everything to a point where I'm thinking I'm an expert again, and then put on the black belt again. But John Lewis put a lot of sense into me. He told me that being a black belt isn't like a cell phone expert. It's like being a doctor. So if you get your doctorates, you're practicing, and then you retire from doctorates, practicing, and then you want to come back, you don't go back to school and to be a doctor again. You keep your status as a doctor, and you start learning the updated technology. So stay as a black belt and learn the new techniques and the updated way of new style jiu-jitsu as a black belt. So that made sense. And he also told me something real incredible. Is he told me that the reason why I'm wanting to demote myself is lack of humility as a black belt. Not because you're humble, because it's a lack of humility as a black belt. And he said you need to be humble as a black belt and not worry about purple belts or brown belts giving you trouble or passing your guard. So when I sat back and thought about it, it was true. It wasn't me being humble saying I'm a purple belt and demoting myself. It was more lack of humility as a black belt, feeling super uncomfortable, not performing better than the lower belts. So demoting myself was a way of running away from that that feeling of having to be humble as a black belt. Very interesting. This experience has a big impact because I think, for one, I realize that my mission in life is to make a difference in other people's lives, use my popularity as a fighter and my ability to reach out to people that need help. It also taught me that the true happiness in life is not the happiness of receiving, but the happiness of giving. I think I'm up to 53 missions up north bringing supplies or helping clean up. And for me, in my life now, it's one of those things that I'll never do. I'll never stop, and I'll continue to do for the rest of my life. So the impact it's had on my life, it's brought a lot of happiness being able to go up and help and create smiles in the faces of in the north of Japan. And it's made me appreciate the things I have and appreciate the life that I have, seeing people that actually lost everything and have nothing now. So it's the impact it's had on my life is that it made me happy. It makes me happier being able to see how I can create smiles, and it's given me my direction in life that I'm here to make a difference in people's lives until the day I die. I always say it's like a candle. I have a fire, and the day your candle burns out is the day you die. So I believe that with my candle, until the light ends, I need to try and light as much candles as I can that's been put out. You know, people who's had hard times in life, and the candles that I can reach out to from my light, relight a lot more candles. So that's as much as before my candle light goes out, I want to see how much candles I can reignite and relight to bring their lives back and bring their back on their feet. Okay. The first ones I had was in the back of my shoulder. It's the kanji for shuto. It's the association that I became the first heavyweight champion, world champion in. And I just did it because I wanted to show my loyalty to shuto. There's tattoos you can't erase, so meaning that I'm a shuto fighter, and I will always be a shuto fighter to the day I die. Another thing that maybe I thought would be a good answer for you is the most important tattoo to me. Most important tattoo to me is the ones in the palm of my hands. I have this is pride and family, and I always believe that this is when you're an infant and you get born, you can't talk, walk, open your eyes, but you notice they have clenched fists because that's like the first part of the first power they can actually exert in their human body. You've ever saw a person? I had some people dying of cancer or so weak in their deathbed that they can't speak or open their eyes, but the doctor will put their finger into their hands and say, if you feel pain or if you can hear me, squeeze your hand. So the last power you have is squeezing your hand. So I always felt in my life, no matter what happens to the day I die, I want to be able to protect my pride as a man, so I can be proud and still protect the people I need to protect. And I want to also be able to close my hand and always protect my family to the day I die. So that's the reason why I have the palms of my hands, which was also my most painful tattoos. Just a normal person. Get up, do the dogs, little errands, household. Like to do a lot of yard work. Now because my girlfriend Sarah McCann has a fight coming up, a lot of training with her. Other than that, just watching movies on Netflix, making bracelets, orders that I get on my website. That's it. Just pretty much everyday normal life. Get up, feed the dogs, yard work, a little bit of training here and there, making bracelets, which is my business, and I'm watching Netflix, hanging out. Just a normal person. I love Japan. I came here 28 years ago. Hated it for the first 2 years because I didn't know the language, and I didn't know the language, didn't have money, didn't have friends, so it was horrible. had to still learn the culture too. I'm Japanese, but Japanese Americans in Hawaii were more, in the fourth generation, were more Americanized than anything. So, yeah, but now I love the country, fell in love with the country. The country hasn't also embraced me, which makes it easier for me to love them. I bought a house here, have my animals here, my friends, my whole legacy is built in Japan. So my future is in Japan. Probably live and die in Japan. If anything, if I ever do go back to Hawaii, it would be at the very end, to relax when I get a lot older. But as far as while I'm chasing dreams, while I'm trying to help people, I think Japan, I have more access to help more people and to move around more. So Japan, just love the culture. I love the people. Just love the fact that I've created my legacy here. So I'll be here forever. Maybe at the very end, maybe move back to Hawaii. I do. My parents have a house in Hawaii. My family's there. I travel a lot back to Hawaii, but I love Japan, and that is now my home and where I live and where I will probably reside till I have to move back to Hawaii to either take care of my parents or when I'm done here and want to just relax in paradise.
Well, I think my fighting legacy was a fighter who embodied the spirit of the samurai, which we call Yamatodamashii. Yamatodamashii is the never dying spirit. As you know, in my career, I've never tapped. I got armbarred, I got my ligaments ripped, I got choked out, I got knocked out, but never once did I tap, or never once did I even think of tapping. The other thing I think I have in my legacy is the killer be killed fight style. I went up there not trying to outpoint someone, not trying to stall to win fights, but going out to kill. And sometimes I was killed, but I think that's what my legacy is a fighter who left it all in the ring, went in there to kill or be killed, and never once tapped.
Do you currently follow MMA? Yes, I do. I follow MMA, watch every single UFC, watch probably most of the Bellator fights. In Japan, whenever there's a big event, I'm always there. Yes, I do follow MMA. Who is your favorite fighter? And who is your favorite fighter? My favorite fighter right now currently is Michael Chandler. That guy's I love his fight style. I love his mental strength, his attitude, and his class. So my favorite fighter is right now currently is Michael Chandler. Who do you think is the best ever? The best ever. It's very hard to say that, and I just really surprised on how the fighters today are so consumed in being the GOT, like especially Cormier. It's like, who gives a fuck? And you'll never know. You'll never know if you're if Cormier is the greatest of all time over Mighty Mouse. You never know if he's the best fighter over Anderson Silva or GSP, because you'll never ever fight each other. So it's all an opinion, and I don't think people should dwell on it so much. As far as who I think the greatest of all time is I believe, might be wrong, but I believe Cain Velasquez is. That's my opinion, but I just don't see how they're so involved in trying to worry about who the GOT is. You'll never know, so it's an opinion, and I don't think they should dwell on it. Do you have an idol that inspired you during your fighting career? Yes, my idol that I used to really look up to was one. Of course, it was the Gracies. They used to instill that attitude of kill or be killed, willing to fight and die in the ring. The second person that had really inspired me was Mike Tyson. His killer instinct, the way he refused to lose, or he mentally never admitted loss. And what I also loved about Mike Tyson is how aggressive and scary he was, but he also had fear going into the ring. And his belief wasn't, fear. A warrior never feels fear, but he was the type of warrior that felt fear and knew that he had to overcome situations with fear in his heart. So that's a true warrior. Not a warrior isn't someone that doesn't feel fear. The warrior is a person who fights fear and is able to work through it with fear, and not letting fear become a adversary, but become a ally to you. So yeah. So my the two fighters that I really looked up to was the Gracie family and Mike Tyson.
Yeah, we never did. Well, the trash talking. Well, what we have to realize is that the day I was fighting, it was martial art. And today it's evolved into a sport, into entertainment. So it's become from martial art to sport to entertainment. So the trash talking and all this hype that they're trying to create is something that I think the entertainment world needs. So as far as them doing it today in this age, is fine. I mean, that's the way they want to do it. That's the way it is. That's what happened to the sport, where it's evolved from martial art to sport to entertainment, and now it's almost like entertainment. So I don't think anything of that. If Connor or Kobe would try to do that back in our day, or back to a fighter like me who is fighting not as a sport but as a martial art, and when we fought, there was no front to sell the fight. There was nothing to create a hype. It was just being you. And if some fighter came up to me and started doing and saying those things to me that it was personal, then we get it on. Whether it's a fight or before the fight, at the press conference, it wouldn't matter. So it's hard. It's hard to say. I don't like it. I'd rather them be more martial artists. But I think in this day and age, to get the big money fights, to get popular in the sport, unfortunately, it looks like you have to shit talk and create a big rumble around you, like creating a enemy, calling names, getting the opponent mad, creating this real big rivalry, so people want to watch and pay money for it, I guess. Weight cutting, I think, is very. I think it's being exaggerated now, because back in our day there was tremendous weight cutting that never was life threatening. But I know. I guess maybe the bodies are getting weaker, or the bodies, or maybe they're cutting more weight now. But it seems like it's a big problem. I think the weight cutting should be changed to same day weigh-ins. So the morning of the fight, you weigh in. So there's no water dropping. There's no excessive weight cutting. So that way it's healthier for the fighters. And you got fighters fighting in their actual weight class. You got fighters nowadays that are way bigger than the other fighter. Like, for example, the last fight in the UFC, Diego Sanchez fought. His opponent was 22 pounds over him. It's only because that guy could cut weight and drop a lot of water really good. So it's because you can cut weight good, you get to fight a smaller guy. It's not really a fair advantage. I believe we should just cut all the weight cutting, have the weigh-ins on the same day as the fight, and everyone be fighting at their natural weight, in my opinion.
Yes, to all my Italian fans in Italy, I'd like to say I've done a seminar in Italy and look forward to someday coming back. If ever there's a gym or a group of people that want to get together and put on a seminar, all I require is being flown over to your country on Delta, pick up my hotel and food, and I'm there. So if anyone can set up a seminar in Italy, I'm willing and more than willing to go out there for just to cover my costs on the airfare and food and hotel. And I'd like to thank all you Italian fans for being fans of MMA and for supporting the sport, because without the fans in the sport, the sport wouldn't need fighters, and we wouldn't exist. So thank you for supporting MMA. Thank you for those of you who are a fan of mine. Thank you for supporting me, and look forward to someday coming back to Italy to see you all in a seminar, and we can hang out. All right, see you guys, and thank you. Gracias.